right, we're at the top. Well, I guess it's top
12. I don't know.
top 12.
We'll call it top 10.
Yeah.
Here's our top 10 plus.
It's a top 10 plus 2.
Especially because we had a little bit of mix-up on this one.
Yeah, we did. All right, so
This is number 12, right?
Yeah, I've been a Black Sabbath fan since I was like 13 years old. So I've always had like their discography in my head, and I knew what the years were for every album, and blah 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 blah. So apparently over the years it's gotten a little rusty up there. So when we were putting together this 77 list, I was like, oh yeah, we sold our soul for rock and roll. That came out in 77. The night before we do this, Scott's like, no it didn't. That came out in 75. And I looked, and sure enough, I was like, damn. I really wanted to include it because Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll is how I discovered Black Sabbath. So it was a huge album for me, even though it was a compilation. So Scott said, well, what actually came out in 77 was the Greatest Hits, which was the UK single disc Greatest Hits on the NEMS label. Which I was like, all right, yeah, let's do that. But I mean, the album
was much higher in the list than...
It was like number 5 for me on the list. But I was just like, okay, this was just kind of like a throwaway compilation. The best part of this whole thing was
the cover.
The cover is a Hieronymus Bosch painting. No, it's not Bosch. It's oh damn! I used to know the name of the guy. Bruegel, Peter Bruegel, and it's called El Triunfo de la Muerte, which is basically Triumph of Death. Mm-hmm. It's a picture of it's a painting of the Black Plague horrors. And it's one of those things where you can just look at it, and there's so many little scenes going on that you can just get lost in it.
And I did.
Oh, totally. Totally. It's a great painting. I used to have it hanging on my wall. So, at the very least, since I couldn't do Sold Our Soul, I wanted to do this because Sabbath didn't have anything else in 77.
And I did devour this album, played it over and over and over again when it came out. So,
yeah, and the CD version actually adds After Forever to the end. But it's just the basics. It's just the very basics of Sabbath. Paranoid, yeah, Paranoid, NIB.
It's the radio hits.
Changes, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Iron Man, Black Sabbath, War Pigs, Laguna Sunrise, Tomorrow's Dream, and Sweet Leaf. It's like the top 10 biggest Sabbath tunes, which with good reason. Greatest hits.
This is another one I'm surprised didn't make the top 10, but it's number 11.
It is, and
and that's good because it's 11.
It's one louder.
It's one louder. And it is.
AC/DC, Let There Be Rock.
Let There Be Rock.
US version, UK version, a couple of different cuts.
Is it UK version or is this the Australian version?
Australian, I mean, sorry. You're doing this one?
That doesn't matter. Talk. Go for it. We're both
well,
talking.
This is, let's see, this is AC/DC's.
Yep.
See, no, it's actually like their third, but their early catalog is kind of bizarro because...
For us, it's really bizarro.
For us, the first AC/DC in the U.S. was High Voltage.
Which was a mixture
a compilation of their first two in Australia, which was High Voltage and TNT.
Right.
They took like half of each album, and then there was a couple other tracks that never made it over to the U.S. at all. So Let There Be Rock, well, the second one, technically, was Dirty Deeds.
Which didn't come out here until 81.
Right. So, and again, different songs on it, different artwork. So, third album proper, let's just come from an American point of view, Let There Be Rock, which the title track is iconic, obviously.
There's actually several iconic songs on this album.
Yes, rock and roll anthem for that one. Definitely Bon Scott, rock and roll preacher. Whole Lot of Rosie's on
Whole Lot of Rosie.
Another huge song for them.
And then Bad Boy Boogie.
Yep.
Which was, I think they still play that live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just Angus's signature.
Now, Problem Child is on here.
Yep.
But Problem Child also appeared on the U.S. version of Dirty Deeds.
Right.
And the difference between the two is the one on Dirty Deeds has this instrumental outro. This one doesn't. And I don't think Problem Child... Yeah, Problem Child was not on Let There Be Rock.
But this one doesn't have Crab City in Blue.
Right. Crab City in Blue was one of the early... this is kind of like... You remember Big Balls? Which was the funny AC/DC song about parties and
big balls.
Well, Crab City in Blue was Bon Scott's ode to having the crabs. Which I can see kind of why they probably left it off the American version. For me, the best deep cut on here is the opening track, Go Down.
Go Down.
Always loved that cut.
Go Down.
Yep, great
Go
song.
down. Go down. Go down.
Yep. Awesome.
Was that about going down? I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure you can get, Ruby, Ruby, you're the one for me, and the way you hum, you sting me like a bumblebee.
Yeah.
So getting a hummer is another word of forgetting a blowjob. So, and I may have just mixed up the lyrics there horribly, but yeah, I'm pretty safe to say it's about getting head. I'm pretty sure.
All right, now we're into I believe it's number 10.
This is number, yes.
10. Yes, we moved this one up because it was actually.
Yeah, and it really, rightfully so.
I'll be honest. I am a fanatic of this band. I still am, especially the '70s catalog. We showed one of their albums before. This is Love Gun
by Kiss.
When it came out, I loved it.
Of course,
because
there was nothing else but Kiss in our worlds.
Over time, Love Gun has. It just doesn't match up to Rock and Roll Over.
Yes. I've got a lot of memories and emotions tied up in
Yes.
this one. First album I ever bought with my own money. And I was in I don't remember what grade I was in. But this is the beginning of the end.
Yes.
For sure. This is where Kiss crossed over into being kind of parodies of themselves, I think.
Yeah, and I, like I said, there's a lot of great songs on here.
Oh, for sure.
Love Gun is a
total classic
classic track.
Which actually is the opener of side 2. And this is one of those records that I always mixed up. I thought that side 2 was side 1.
Which I think all of us did back then.
Like, who puts the title track on the second side? Duh. Right? Thought I knew it all.
And then the cover is iconic.
Totally.
I mean, they still had the stage show, but this was the new costumes, and we were all into it.
And I believe same guy who did the Destroyer cover did this cover.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of earlier versions of it that are really interesting, and the story behind them that came out when the deluxe version of Love Gun was released.
That was the deluxe version of was it Love Gun, or are you talking about Destroyer?
No, they both had
two different
earlier covers. Yeah, actually, this one had 2 prior ones.
Oh.
But the way that they were portrayed, like the band was in a back alley, and there's a bunch of teenage groupies around them, but the band was like, no, we're bigger than that, and they wanted this more epic kind of a look.
And this album also contains one of my favorite songs. And the first time we heard Ace Frehley sing, "Shock Me." Yeah, it's a great song.
Which is based on when he almost got electrocuted on stage.
I also love "I Stole Your Love."
Yep.
Other tracks on here,
Almost Human was always one I loved.
I like Almost Human.
One of those,
it's a very Gene song.
Very Gene.
It plays his character very well.
His character.
But then I never ever liked Plaster Caster. I always thought it was such a. It's not necessarily what it's about, because I didn't even know what it was about back then. It's just Plaster Cat. I don't know. It just didn't.
This album almost has a.
It lacked the rock and roll that Rock and Roll Over had, which preceded this.
And Rock and Roll Over, I think, was the last great
from front to back.
Yeah.
And then you got
the classic Kiss.
And then She Kissed Me, which was a Shondells?
Shondells or Shirelles, I can't remember.
One of them.
I always loved that shit. It kind of appealed to the romantic sucker in me.
And I don't mind it on here, but for some reason over
time,
Tonight was if I was to make a top 5 favorite Kiss albums, this one wouldn't make it.
Probably not for me either. There's something about this that it almost has a 50s flavor in it in a lot of ways, and it's not just because they're doing Then She Kissed Me, because that, like you were just saying, the backing vocals in Plaster Caster, even like Hooligan.
Oh yeah, Hooligan, definitely.
It's a great Peter song, but it's like it's a kid wdo grew up in the 50s.
Yep, and that's what it was, right?
It's totally what it was. So, and I don't think I ever really put my finger on it.
And it always had it's got the iconic, what do you call it, the picture sleeve?
Yeah, we got the picture sleeve, which is the Kiss in Blood.
Yep.
Which this was after the famous Marvel special comic where they put some blood into the red ink and all that stuff. So I don't know if they were playing on that. I got a couple of the order forms, brand new Kiss merch, and actually the comic book is advertised on the other side. Now, the great bit in this, was the Kiss Love Gun Pop Gun, which I've got one that has never been
popped out,
used.
And they're hard to find because every kid in there made right on, popped it out.
Yeah, oh yeah. Mine.
The thing is, in '78, these weren't collector's items.
No, you played with them. They were toys.
They were awesome. So yeah, anyhow, I snorted. I went.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I said it before when we were talking about Live 2. Kiss was just a blast when you were a kid. And if you didn't grow up with them, you don't really get it. And I believe me, I'm not a Kiss fanatic, because I say stuff about what complete and utter hard-on tools Gene and Paul are these days.
I am a Kiss fanatic, but I still think they're...
But I don't think they can do no wrong.
No, I'm definitely not in that school at all. But I love, like in my top 5, Creatures of the Night would be in there.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, and that's...
Creatures of the Night was like Kiss Reborn.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember. In fact, at that point, Kiss was a guilty pleasure for me and Chris. We had all our albums put away in the basement. It was like, we don't listen to Kiss anymore. That's kid stuff.
Right.
Then Creatures of the Night came out. You bet your ass we dug those albums out.
And I'll tell you how. And I was kind of the I never really totally dismissed Kiss, but it was kind of if you were around in that time, like 79, 80, 81, it was almost like painful to be a Kiss fan.
It was, because they just kind of they crashed and burned. I still loved them all the way up to Unmasked. Because I was still young enough.
But you didn't really say it to anybody, because you're a Kiss fan. Yeah. Anyhow, Tony Lee from Heathen's Rage, him and I were friends, and we'd get together and we just listened to records. It was just something we did.
Yep.
And he's like, dude, you got to come over and listen to the new Kiss record. So I met him, and we played that, and I think it was Ted Nugent, Scream Dream, around the same time.
Oh, great album.
And both those were just such a return to style, and it was like, so it was 82?
82 was Creatures, yeah.
So yeah, it was, anyhow.
Oh yeah, that totally.
Rough and Rowdy.
And it was right. It was the spark of the beginning of the next great heavy metal
era.
Yeah.
Not only for Kiss, but for
lots of bands.
Yeah. This was easy.
Right.
This had to be in our list of top 10.
Totally. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Motorhead, because honestly, I prefer the On Parole version to the first one. It's good stuff. They definitely weren't as solid as they were going to be.
And it's different. It's not as heavy. It's more.
Yes.
It's got more of a punk edge.
And On Parole even more so.
Right.
Almost like a psychedelic edge for that one. I mean, this is
he
almost like
he just came out of Hawkwind. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, this one is a dirtier version of On Parole.
Yes.
The guitars are much more distorted. We actually have a Hawkwind song on here. The Watcher is a Hawkwind song that Lemmy did, and I love the original version.
I do too.
Love it.
It's funny putting them together because they're very different.
And Lost Johnny is also one. He's also a Hawkwind too. Iron Horse Born to Lose is probably the first great Motorhead anthem. It's like the ultimate.
Well, except for maybe the Eponymous. There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh yeah, there's actually 3 Hawkwind tunes on this album, because Motorhead was a Hawkwind tune also. It's just Lemmy wrote Motorhead and The Watcher by himself, and he wrote Lost Johnny with another member. But first Motorhead, I mean, this was just an inkling of the great stuff that was to come. This is the
I just think it came out right after this.
It's Motorhead and City Kids. I'm pretty sure it was 77 as well.
There's actually there's a blue version, the 7-inch version of this too that came out, and I have the 7-inch version.
Same cover.
Same cover, except instead of being black, it's dark. It's really dark blue.
Okay. I love the picture. Iconic shot.
We've said it before. This is not the first one we've shown. There's something about those stark black and white tips that I just love them.
Yeah, it's like you just put it on a photocopy machine.
Yep. And if you looked at some of my recent artwork, you see some of that because I still love it. There's just something simple about it, but it's. I don't know. I like it.
I mean, one of the greatest, most recognizable logos
Snaggletooth
ever. Yeah, Snaggletooth. I don't think he was named that at this point either.
Probably not.
I think it was when No Remorse came out. I think they had a contest
to name him.
Yeah, if I remember right. But yeah, Motorhead, friggin' Motorhead.
All right, next one
I do believe this album earned them distinction of being the worst band ever.
Circus Magazine.
Yeah,
I remember reading that. I do. Circus.
Well,
the Circus was a Cream.
One of those.
Yeah, it was one of those magazines. Yeah, this.
I want to say Cream just because they were way more cynical and just kind of nasty, but
anyhow, this album. I've literally got like 10 versions of this.
Yeah. Iconic cover.
I love this album. I love the cover. This is Aerosmith, Trog line, by the way. They were totally drug-addled.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
Blackout album.
It took millions of dollars, if I'm not mistaken, which was unheard of in the 70s to record this album. They rented the Coventry was called. They rented an old space that belonged to like a nun, where nuns used to live.
And they convent?
convent.
Oh.
They called it the Coventry, I believe, and they lived in it. They were living in it for months recording this album.
And just snorting.
And they were just
like mad, I'm sure.
And Joe Perry and Steven Tyler were at each other's throats through the whole thing.
The Toxic Twins.
There were just times that they weren't even in the same room together most of the time. The rest of the band, they were involved in all the drugs too. But if you listen to like the box set where they have all the outtakes there's tons of outtakes for those sessions, and it's Brad Whitford and.
Is that where like the Crow with Them song came from?
Yeah, all that kind of different stuff. Yeah. It's because they were in a studio with nothing to do. They had no singer and they had no Joe Perry, so it was all the other three guys. So they were just doing jams,
And those guys, they were a solid rhythm section as there could be.
No, I've always thought Joey Kramer was one of the most underrated drummers.
He's a great drummer.
I always shy away from saying because I don't know if that's just because I'm such an Aerosmith fanatic.
No,
but he's just got a sound that was his, anyhow, but yeah, very different album for them from the three that preceded it. A lot of people hated it when it came out. A lot of people hated it when it came out. But I loved it, and I can see why.
The title track alone is killer.
I can see why people didn't like it. I mean, it was a little more even negative. I mean, you got songs like what is the song I'm thinking of? Get It Up, where it's like, I can't get it up, get it up. I mean, very different from the first three albums when it was all totally different than that.
It's because it's up and rock hard.
I can't get it down, yeah.
I can't get it down.
But
go down!
One of my favorite all-time Aerosmith songs, Kings and Queens.
Kings and Queens is epic.
It's not really a ballad. It's just
it's singing about a very a period that it's like that.
It's emotional. That's what I'm looking for. It's
emo.
But
it's singing about kings and queens and guillotines. It's about the medieval period. And all that.
It's just I love the Jack Douglas stuff because it was very experimental. People don't realize it. They just kind of hear the outside of it and the hits, but they were experimenting with a lot of stuff. Like who uses a banjo in their song, and that song was backed by a banjo. I love it. It's just. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. Melancholy, maybe?
Yeah.
Not mellow, but melancholy. Very emotional.
Yeah. It's more.
But then you had heavy
like a depression that you enjoy.
I Want to Know Why. Critical Mass was so heavy.
Yep.
And then they finally recorded Milk Cow Blues, and it was only recorded because they were so messed up they couldn't come up with another song, so they recorded Milk Cow Blues, which they had been playing live for years.
Oh, had that been around for a while? I didn't know that.
Well, and Milk Cow Blues, of course, is a cover.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a cover.
It's an old blues standard.
And it's an old blues song that they were playing live. They played it live as far back as in their inception.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's bootlegs so you can hear Milk Cow Blues long before this album came out in '78.
That's cool.
77.
The cover. We got to mention the cover.
They toured in '78.
Classic Hirschfeld
and
cover.
And how dare they put an album cover out without their name on it? That was...
Well, some versions did have it.
Yes, but in America, no, it did not, because they were huge in America.
It's classic.
There was very few bands that would do that, though, in the '70s. Led Zeppelin were one.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin were kind of like the ones who... Jimmy Page loved to do shit like that. I mean, let's put it out. No, you tell them who it is.
Yep.
And it's like he's trying to prove a point. Like, this is how good we are.
Yeah, and that's the same thing here. But that cover...
But this guy, Hirschfeld, has done so many paintings, or so many drawings like this, but really, this is the only one I know of that for a rock band, or a metal band.
It's so iconic. I love it.
It totally is. Usually he's doing stuff for, like, Broadway, and like, film stars and stuff like that.
And there's only one shirt that cover is allowed to be on. Any other shirt, it's not right on. It has to be on the shirt, but that's white with the black sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
If it's on any other shirt, it's
jerseys.
Yeah.
And the thing I always loved about his that I found out is whenever you see his signature at the bottom, there's always a number next to it. And the number corresponds to the amount of times he put his daughter's name within the drawing. And his daughter's name was, is it Nina?
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read it.
Yes, it's Nina, because you can see it right there, N-I-N-A. So the Nina name appears 3 times on this, and if you look at any one of his drawings, he always has that. The name Nina appears 3 times in this picture. I love stuff like that. Love it.
All right, next one is definitely, I would call it a heavy metal album.
Yep.
This easily would be in my top 2 or 3 of this year. I love this record. I think it's one of the most underrated albums from this band. And it is their first album for a major label.
Yep, it was on CBS.
This is Judas Priest.
Sin After Sin.
A forgotten record from them. People never talk about this album.
It's an oddball. It's got My favorite, I mean, Sinner is a classic track.
So is and Diamonds and Rust, which of course they
Yes.
re-recorded on this album. It's not the same version that shows
Right.
up other places. Starbreaker's
my favorite cut on here, and I hate
love it.
I love the original version. They did something to it on the remasters, and I hate the version on that.
Huh.
I love the original.
And then I always liked the ballad, and it is a ballad, Last Rose of Summer.
It's a great song.
And Halford just sings his heart out in
Yep.
that song.
It's it's a different album for them. Dissident Aggressor is on here, which
so freaking heavy.
Slayer
covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's an oddball album for them. It's it's sandwiched between two eras. I mean, the Gull area for Rock-a-Rolla and Sin After Sin, and then before they did Hellbent for Leather, this is just kind of stuck, or Stained Class,
Right.
which is when they really shot into heavy metal. This is just, I guess, forget about it. And I like the album, but it's an oddball for me.
And it was for me too, but I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, I can't remember what it was, I put this album on one day and I'm like, oh my gosh, this album is freaking awesome. And and ever since then, it's been one of my favorite records from them. When I want to hear Priest, I pull this thing out a lot.
I think one of my favorite deeper cut on here is definitely Call for the
I was going to say, if it wasn't
great song.
the guitar playing in
Call for
that,
the priest, I'm dying.
Yep.
I love
and then
that.
all that dual guitar stuff they do in there
Yeah.
was so Thin Lizzy-esque.
Yes.
I don't know if they were inspired by Thin Lizzy for that, but it definitely has that vibe, you know?
And the drummer on here, freaking Simon Phillips. So they still didn't have a solid drummer yet. And
Nope.
Simon was a studio guy.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have a solid drummer until the next album, who
was only there for 2 records.
unfortunately, and he was one of their best.
Les Binks was
Les
awesome.
Binks was awesome.
Yeah, the first drummer they had that he was around long enough to really make the impression was Dave Holland.
Yeah.
Because Les, it's almost like the first few Priest albums, like who the hell was their drummer anyway?
I love this record too.
Oh,
Obviously,
yes.
all these are good.
This is another weird one though.
See, okay, we were talking earlier.
Great album.
We were talking earlier about how I listened to Aerosmith's the second half of Rock Song, and I was like, why am I not listening to this music again? This is another one.
Same album.
Show me the album first.
Bad Reputation.
Bad Reputation. I walked into a Walmart, and they had this big rack of 99-cent tapes, cassette tapes, and I still had a cassette deck in my car. And this was sitting there for $1 or 50 cents, I think it even was, 2 for $1. And I pulled that out, and I'm like, God, I haven't heard this in forever. And I popped it in my car deck, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love this record.
Yeah. This one, I love the whole thing. There's nothing in the Thin Lizzy catalog between 70 and 83 that I don't love. I've got tons of emotional attachments to it. There were periods when I listened to nothing but Thin Lizzy, going through breakups, things like that. There's way too many emotional attachments here for me not to love it to death. This is a weird one though. I think partially because Brian Robertson wasn't really in the band.
It's funny because
technically
he broke his arm or something in a fight, or I don't know what the whole story, but it doesn't make a difference. But he's pictured on the back.
Yeah, he's not on the front.
He's not on the
but
front
he's on the
cover,
back.
which is bizarre.
So he's in the band, but he's not.
And so he did play on the album. Some of his guitar solos are on
Yeah,
there.
he's listed as a band member, but it's just it always had a weird
I don't think he
feel.
played any of the rhythms though. I think it was all Scott Gorham, and he played the lion's share of the leads too.
Okay.
I always loved the cover art though.
Yes,
again,
definitely. It's
here you go,
iconic
another
cover.
one of those black and white, almost
Yep.
photocopy, and that font. I love that font.
Oh yeah, the stencil, the MASH font.
That's where the No Life Till Metal font comes from. That's the reason I use that font on every single video.
Okay. And I mean, I always see it as MASH. This stencil kind of.
It is. It's a stencil
That's
font.
the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And black, white, and red. This is just going back to like childhood development stuff. Black, white, and red. You'll notice a lot of like toys for babies and toddlers are in that color scheme, because those are the ones that develop first, and that's the only color that they recognize when they're little. And the black and whites, obviously, because they're such a contrast.
Anyhow, we're talking music on here. It's got some heavy songs.
Bad Reputation.
Bad Reputation. That
Massive
track,
drum song.
Yeah.
Totally.
Matter of fact, when they recorded the live album, Live and Dangerous, they did the drum solo. Half the time was done in that song.
Oh yeah.
And then the other half
good
was
reason.
done. Yeah. Because he was. Who else in '77 was doing that steady, on the double bass?
Not many.
Another underrated drummer, in my opinion.
Soldier of Fortune, the opening cut, I always loved. Real melancholy.
Yeah.
Soldier of Fortune came home from war, wondered what he's fighting for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Opium Trail. Another drug song. Southbound, another pretty ballad kind of thing.
Sort of. It kind of It almost romanticizes the gang life at that point.
Yeah. Dancing in the Moonlight.
Yep. Which that was a song.
That's a huge Lizzy track.
Yeah, which is also was recorded with Gary Moore.
Oh, didn't know that. Killer Without a Cause, Downtown Sundown, That Woman's Gonna Break Your Heart.
Downtown Sundown is a great song.
Closing Cut, always loved it, Dear Lord.
Dear Lord.
It's just like My
a prayer.
God on the Alice Cooper song.
It's a
On
prayer.
the Alice Cooper album.
It's a prayer set to
I
music.
always loved that track. Always. Bad Reputation, great album.
Yep.
Great album.
Next up, speaking of Canadian bands,
Rush.
Rush. I love
Farewell
this
to
album.
Kings.
I mean,
it's
just,
a great album.
It's just, and it's long song, not long, quite as long as 2112.
No,
but
there's two mega long tracks on
songs. Yeah,
here.
one of them's like 22 minutes long, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, you're thinking of Hemispheres, the follow-up.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Xanadu's an 11-minute track on side one, and then Cygnus X1 is 10:37.
Xanadu. I can't even get up that high.
This
man.
is the album that gave us Closer to the Heart, which maybe their second big like radio hit after Fly By Night. You know, Cressy Steel certainly didn't have hits on it like that. But
that album was just raw and heavy though.
Oh man, yeah.
That's another Led Zeppelin influenced album.
Totally. Cinderella Man, Madrigal, Farewell to Kings, great stuff.
And I always loved it. Again, we always talk about the cover art, but that cover,
it's great.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just very, and they've had the Tom Allen, I think is the name of their artist, or maybe that was their producer.
No, Tom Allen was the producer.
Terry Brown was the producer. Tom Allen was the art.
No, Tom Allen was the guy who produced all. Tom Allen was the guy who produced all the Judas Priest albums in the late 70s and early 80s.
Okay, I can't remember the name of the artist. Beth Patterson, you'll correct me, I'm sure. They've been with the same guy for years and years and years, and that's why they've had kind of a consistently good presentation. And between him and Neil Peart, they always had just presentations that were layers and layers, like intellectually. But my favorite deeper cut, Cygnus X1. Oh
Yep.
my God, I love that song. I remember reading a blurb in Kerrang magazine where Kronos of Venom says, "I learned to play bass by locking myself in my bedroom and playing Cygnus X1 over and over and over." It's like, really?
It's interesting, yeah.
And then I started seeing, Venom, 3-piece, lead singer is the bass player. Oh, that's weird, man. I started like comparing Venom and Rush, which I never would have done.
They definitely are the biggest. I'm thinking the biggest band to come out of Canada.
Yeah.
I can't think of one that's been bigger.
I mean,
or still big. I mean,
unless you want to Neil Young, massive, but it's a different.
It's
It's apples and oranges.
It's not a band really either. I mean, that's more of a solo artist.
Yeah, well, Neil Young, Crazy Horse. I think.
Yeah.
They must. I don't know. Whatever.
Next one. Yeah. Talking about the first wave of heavy metal.
Yeah. UFO, Lights Out.
Last studio album for Schenker.
Nope, second to last.
Second. What album? Oh, like you're right. Obsession.
Lights Out.
Obsession was last.
Yeah, this is a super strong album.
Had their biggest hit on it.
Second to me, only to Obsession. Lights Out, the title track, definitely. It's kind of like that's the song people know.
That's the song everybody knows. Yeah.
But the whole album is killer. There's not a song in here I don't like, and there's the two deep cuts that I love, Electric Phase and Love to Love, the two closures there. Oh, they're epic, both of them.
Yep.
And Phil Mogg's vocal tone is just, he's not the...
Again, very unique.
He doesn't have the super range of like a Geddy Lee.
No.
But his tone...
Very recognizable.
Yep, his tone and his melody are just perfect.
Charismatic, that's the word I would put it.
Yep. So we got Too Hot to Handle, which is a great opening rocker. Just Another Suicide, which is more like street smart lyrics from Phil Mogg. Try Me is just a heartbreaking ballad. It's just awesome. Lights Out is a straight up rocker, which reminds me of Achilles' Last Stand by Zeppelin. I've always compared those two tracks.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to listen to that.
Yeah. Getting Ready, side 2 opener is a great one. Alone Again More is it's a love cover. Arthur Lee's Love. Great cover they did there. And then the other two that I mentioned.
And I'd say this is probably one of the albums that influenced the entire new wave of British heavy metal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is the classic UFO lineup: Schenker, Mogg, Way, Parker, and Paul Raymond.
Yeah, exactly.
Just classic. It doesn't get any better than this. Fucking UFO. I love them. I hate to talk about them too much because it's almost like they're dad rock now because people freak out about them because people finally kind of got it. But oh man, I love UFO.
That's a stupid term.
It is.
Dad rock. This one's kind of an oddball in this for us. You've never seen this band in any of our videos before.
Really? Haven't we done anything?
Nope. But mostly because they don't usually really fit into the hard and heavy.
No.
And really, it doesn't here either.
But it's dark and it's ugly. This is probably their most.
This is an album that I like. I play it often. It's one of those albums when I play it, I want to just do nothing else but listen to it.
We haven't even said who it is yet or the title, and we don't have to. It's Pink Floyd.
It's another one of those albums without the name on the thing. Actually had a sticker, I believe, that was on the shrink wrap.
I mean, it says it on the back,
yeah.
And it's got the iconic flying pig over the factory, which they've used in their shows for years.
Yep.
This was the Pink Floyd album that I didn't get into till much later.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
Once I did, oh my god! And this is, I think, one of the first that Roger Waters wrote everything. He wrote every song on here, and it's dark, and it's cynical, and it's sarcastic, and damn, it's everything Roger Waters did best.
I love it. I really, I mean, I like most of the Pink Floyd stuff in the '70s.
Oh yeah.
But that album, like I said, I can lay in bed, head on a pillow, and just put that on, lights off, and I don't fall asleep. You just absorb it.
And the album basically opens and closes with the same short acoustic track, Pigs on the Wing. And then they got Dogs, Pigs, and Sheep. Sheep was the single. It was like, aside from the opener and closer, it was probably the shortest track, the one they could most justify using as a single.
And they had all those animal noises all throughout.
And then Dogs is like a 17-minute opus. It's just...
that's the song that just...
It's so heavy.
That's the song that just pulls you in.
Totally. And then Pigs, 3 different ones, which I only just recently got the joke of that one. It's like, Pigs is a great one. Pig man, ha ha, charade you are. The title is Pigs, 3 different ones in parentheses, and I was like, what the hell is that about? Duh, 3 little pigs. These are 3 different pigs. I was like, that's damn funny. In the middle of such a dark album, they throw that joke. That's damn. I mean, that just, Pink Floyd is so beyond. I mean, you can't even classify them as anything, really.
Nope. Yeah, I always consider it as a prog rock band or a space rock band. Here, more prog.
But they're so minimalist that they're not like complicated like a Yes or a King Crimson or.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that they play isn't so intricate.
No.
But.
Experimental.
Damn, it's good. And you can tell from some of the early stuff when they were doing these extended ambient jams and stuff that they were into that. They were into the experimental, trying to find new ground and
new sounds. And
what an amazing band! I think I love Pink Floyd more than.
Are we at number 2 or number 1? I think we're at number 2.
Yes, we're at number 2.
Yeah, we're at number 2. All right.
Which one do you want?
I'll take. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
This one would have been my pick for number 1, and we switched at the last minute for.
And it would have been a little lower on my list, but for how much Scott loved it. And I'm not saying I don't.
But yeah, this would have probably been number 1, but this is
Scorpions.
Take It By Force. U.S. cover, UK cover. Never understood why we got this instead of this. This doesn't even look like a cover. It looks like a back cover to me.
I mean, you can see why they changed Love Drive, and you can see why they changed Virgin Killer.
Yeah.
I mean, those were a bit risque, but what's the big deal about this? It's like kids with squirt guns in a cemetery.
We also got 2 different mixes of one song, or 2 different versions of the Cells of Sharon, I believe it was.
Sharon, yep. It's got my favorite all-time Scorpion song on it, though not the version, not the studio version.
Which one?
It's We'll Burn the Sky.
We'll Burn the Sky, it's a great song. I love that song.
Oh, it's the Tokyo Tapes version that I love, though.
But like Steam Rock Fever, that what is it called? When it's busting into the cement? The
jackhammer.
The jackhammer sound. I was like, oh, that's so heavy. That's so metal.
Yes.
I just loved it, man. And
He's a Woman, She's a Man is a great cut.
And that song's been covered by a bunch of different metal bands. Hellstar is one I know of.
I mean, this is the peak for the Uli years.
And it's the last of the Uli Ralph album. The last
if you don't count the live one that came after.
Right, but
yeah.
The Cells of Sharon, that was Yuli. Your Light, that was Yuli. I've Got to Be Free, that was Yuli. But you can hear where and why he left the band on this record. You can see the future, where they were going.
Yes.
With songs like Steam Rock Fever. where it was, you
and
know,
probably He's a Woman, She's a Man.
and He's a Woman, She's a
Yeah.
Man. You could see where they would go in the 80s from those two songs, whereas Ole always wanted to be the Jimi Hendrix kind of guy.
Oh, totally. And I mean, We'll Burn the Sky was co-written by Jimi Hendrix's girlfriend.
Who is now his wife, right? Yes.
Jimi Hendrix?
Huh?
Jimi Hendrix.
No, it's Yuli's wife. Yuli's wife is
Used to be Jimi Hendrix's girlfriend?
girlfriend.
Wow, he really wanted to be like Hendrix.
They got, it was, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Correct
You
me
know
if
who
I'm
I want
wrong.
to be like?
It's been a while since I've read that book, but
I didn't know that was. I didn't know
Yuli's
that was a
wife
connection.
was the woman who was in his room the day he died.
I know that she wrote the lyrics.
Yes, and that's his wife.
Is Uli's wife.
Uli's
Oh
wife.
shit!
Mhm.
And it's got a co-writing. It's got a Rudolf Schenker co-write on it, but. Well, all I was trying to point out was the Hendrix connection there, because I mean, obviously, I'm sure Uli had something to do with that.
Anyhow, I love Uli's one of my favorite guitar players of all time.
He's a great player.
I've met him twice now, and he's such a character. Funny, the first time I met him, I've told that story before. I'm not going to tell it again. Where he took my marker.
Yeah.
The second time
You
I met
stay
him,
with me.
Yeah. The second time I met him was went to see him in California. And he played. It was all Scorpion songs.
Yes.
It was great.
I
I
wish I
loved
could
it.
have kept that.
I went with
Bill Baffert.
Bill Baffert from Rocks, and he, as a gift, bought me the backstage pass to meet Yuli afterwards, which was
Nice.
awesome. And so Yuli was just, you can tell Yuli has two different signatures. He's got the signature where he's just signing things and, here you go.
Patefa.
Yeah, it's basically, he does UJR. That's how he signs for most things. When he's into you, when he's talking to you, it's all Rich Roth, and he signs it. And I have things that are signed by both. Now, I had a handful of crap to get signed by him because, like I said, I'm a huge fan. This is the second time meeting him. So I'm sitting there and I
He
handed
remembered you, right?
He didn't remember me at first, so I handed him the album and he signed it UJR.
Right.
So I said, Yoli, I said, I know I'm just being a big old fanboy here, but I said, I've been a fan for so long. And I said, I saw you out in California when when your guitar goes out. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, but I said, I'm the one who had the silver marker. And you went, I remember you. And after that,
He signed Ulrich J. Roth.
not only that, but he was like, before that he was just kind of quiet. People, you don't know it. People.
He opened up.
He opened up and started talking to me.
Yeah.
And then I had everybody who got the backstage pass got this giant, I'm talking huge tour poster with a giant picture of Yuli on it. And he signed it to Scott, and he wrote all three, I don't know how he remembered it, including the show I saw, all 3 times I seen him, he wrote the freaking things on there.
So, I mean, that's special. That's special.
So yeah, I have this huge poster of him that's signed to Scott, and it says Albuquerque, California, and I think it says Hollywood, California, and then it said whatever the city was in California, saw him at that time, and then he signed it Ulrich Ross and then put the year on it.
Very cool, man.
And yeah.
I hope I get a chance to see him. I really wanted to see that
Live,
Scorpion story he did.
he's so much fun live. He's a character, and he's very much a hippie. I mean, he's
He's
very 70s, and
He kind of has.
he's got that kind of big quiet voice, and he talks like this, and he's very flowery, and I love it. It's so funny. when I saw him in California, matter of fact, the electricity, they're having all that rolling blackouts, and a couple times when he's playing, he's like, California, what's wrong with your electricity? And at one point, he's just wailing on that Sky guitar he has, and he's just roar, bow, snap, and he snaps off the whammy bar.
Oops.
And he just kind of looks at it, and he's like, it was hilarious. And
Did he keep playing, or did he always switch guitars?
No, he kept playing. He finished the song with it. I can't remember. It was a Scorpion song. I can't remember which one it was, but he was just just making that guitar wail. Anyhow, we're off on Drabber Trails again.
That's okay. This is
Number 1, and
I was just letting you go.
Number 1, and I agreed to this one because it was such a huge album for me that year too.
I can't. This album had such a massive impact on me in '77. I remember on the radio. This is '77, people, and this is, I think, probably before Star Wars even. "We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions" gets played on the radio, and I'm like 77. I was 9 years old. I'm in my folks' car. We're driving home. We're driving down Smiley Avenue to get to our home at Goodrich Lane, and "We Will Rock You" comes on. And I'm like, "What the fuck is this? This is so weird!" But I couldn't stop listening. It's like, this is amazing, and it was just, at the time, it was so weird. It's like, it was just drums and vocals. That was it, except for that massive guitar solo at the end.
Of course, now you can't go to a hockey barn or a game without hearing the song. It's
And they wrote both of those songs really for sporting events. Is that kind of what the idea was behind it?
And it is. You're not going to go anywhere in any game without hearing at least one of those.
And we've got another massively iconic gatefold cover.
Yeah, I love that cover.
One of the most. I have it hanging right over there in a frame.
Yep.
And the inside is just as
awesome.
iconic. Yep. I remember, and I remember the "We Will Rock You, We're the Champions" single had the robot head
on
just
it.
black and white.
Yeah, I have that single.
And this is from an old. This was redone by the exact same artist that did. It was on an old science fiction magazine cover, and it's the same picture, but he's holding like a man, and he's just like pointing at it like, "Daddy, fix it," kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's a very weird because it's almost supposed to be like this big evil giant robot, but he's like
got these real soulful eyes.
It's very innocent. He's like he doesn't really even realize he's just like a child.
And that's the thing that
and you can
totally
see who's that in the picture? I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
it is.
Freddy's in his hand and Brian's in his hand.
And Freddy's in his hand and he's been killed obviously.
Yeah. And he's got blood dripping off the finger and it's the same thing. It's like, "Daddy, fix it," kind of a thing. And I mean, the cover drew me in because of the friggin' eyes on the robot. There was an episode of The Family Guy where this picture kept sprouting up all over the place, and Stewie was flipped out by it, and it just kept coming everywhere, and he was losing his mind. I was like, I never thought it was scary. I was just fascinated by this cover.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about the music yet.
Yeah, and okay, We Will Rock You. We talked about We Will Rock You and We're the Champions.
And then,
but the deep cuts are the best songs.
Oh my
on
God!
Here.
They segue into Sheer Heart Attack,
which is a freaking speed metal song. I mean,
oh my God! We used to do it in DT Seizure, and I used to get my rocks off singing that damn song.
And it's been covered by several bands, but it is sheer.
Nobody ever did it like them. Though.
Sheer 70s speed metal.
And it's the title track of their third album, which the idea must have been floating around for years. Yeah.
I kind of put that song in the same like as Toys in the Attic, where it's just that real fast. And
yes.
If it had double bass and down-tuned guitars, you'd probably call it thrash metal these days. But
there's not a song on here I don't love.
Nope.
The next track is All Dead, All Dead.
All Dead.
Which now it's a very difficult song for me to listen to.
Yep.
Always was fascinated by it though. Just like We'll Burn the Sky.
Yep.
Just like it. Then Spread Your Wings is just
Spread your
epic.
little wings.
Just epic, life-affirming song.
Can you say the names? I'll just sing along.
All right, do that. And then Fight from the Inside, which is like, this is like the precursor to Dragon Attack on the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's that heavy, bass, intensive album, and Roger Taylor's singing it. Just heaviest track on here. Well, maybe second heaviest.
I think Dragon Attack actually would have fit perfect on this.
Yes,
album,
I love. That's probably my favorite track on the game. Probably.
Definitely.
Side 2, Get Down, Make Love.
Oh,
I mentioned it earlier in our other video.
And that middle portion.
Don't try having sex to that mid portion.
It's just so weird.
It is so weird. And I remember I was 9 years old. I was just starting to, I was just at the threshold of puberty. And it's like, this is one of the songs that was like informing my imagination about what sex was. And it was such a weird feeling. I remember. It's just so bizarre.
Okay, before we go any further, which song has that really odd feedback coming in during the, where there should be a guitar solo? It's all real high pitched and it kind of almost.
That's Sheer Heart Attack.
Okay, Sheer Heart Attack. Right. So on the way driving here from New Mexico, I was playing a few of these albums to kind of refresh myself on them, and this is one of the ones I played, and it comes on. My wife's like, "What is that noise? Where's it coming from?" And she's looking, and I said, "That's the song," and she's like, "That doesn't belong there."
And then it deteriorates into that percussion thing, that huge roll. Yes.
Yep.
We used to try and reproduce that when we were doing it in DT Seizure. There's just no way.
Yeah.
We didn't know how the hell to do it.
Sorry, just the center section of that is weird like that too. It's got all that feedback and noises and
So Get Down, Make Love, epic length, massive pounding rhythm through the whole thing.
Again, you can't even hear the title without thinking "Get Down, Make Love," and I love the live version.
It's amazing.
On
on
Killers.
Live Killers. Yep. Sleeping on the Sidewalk. It's like a bluesy.
It is. It's straight up blues. That's what it is.
It's totally. It's Brian May. It's just singing the story of a street musician down his luck. Hits the heights. It's rags to riches to rags again.
Yep.
Kind of a song.
It's blues. Right along the same lines as like a Status Quo or a Foghat or.
Who Needs You? Probably the oddest track. It's a John Deacon track.
Right.
It's a. It's like a calypso kind of a feel, sorta. It's weird. It's probably my least favorite cut on the album.
You know what's weird about this album and Queen in general is no two songs really are the same style of music.
Not really.
They're very misaligned and they don't fit together, but they do.
And they jump genres
Stylistically,
like crazy. But it all fits.
It all fits. It all works, and it's very interesting how they can make all those different sounds work together.
When I was a kid listening to it, it gave me a very strange feel because it was just so unlike anything else I'd ever heard.
Yep.
It's Laid. Probably the centerpiece of the album.
Great song.
Massive, epic feel. Freddie Mercury, powerhouse vocal performance. And then the closing, My Melancholy Blues. Hated it at first. Now it's one of my favorite cuts. It's
I just like the whole album.
It's such a jazzy, bluesy, melancholy thing. It's a perfect closer of just an amazing friggin' album.
Yep.
And I think it's underrated. I think it gets lost in the Bohemian Rhapsody, and it gets lost in...
I think it gets lost in the first two tracks.
That too, yes.
Everybody remembers We Will Rock You, and it's just, that's all they remember.
It's like, that's just the beginning, man. This album is so amazing. And
it's not even my favorite track on the album. I mean, even back when it came out, it wasn't my favorite track on the album. It was, well, Sheer Heart Attack was always my favorite.
Because it rocks so damn hard.
It was great. No. I remember this was '77, so this was the same year that obviously Draw a Line came out.
Yep.
And what magazine was it? Put out that Queen versus Aerosmith.
It was Grooves.
Grooves,
yes.
For the heavy metal.
Because they had two massive Kiss issues too. Great pictures.
Yeah, and they were who's going to win? And I had that magazine. I've shown it on my videos before. I never ever saw. I actually sent mine in and voted. I voted for Aerosmith. Duh. But I never saw who won. I was always.
I did. I thought that was just.
No.
Nothing. I didn't know it was an actual real thing.
Yeah, the whole magazine. There was a form that you send it in the mail, and they put a stamp on it, send it in, because that was how you did it then. There was no internet.
Funny.
And I didn't know who won. I've never known for.
I wonder if there's a way to find out.
Oh, I know who won now because I
Who did win?
I'll tell you in a second. I showed that magazine in one of my videos, and I talked about it, and I mentioned that I didn't know who won this one. The guy who was watching it, his name is Jeff Resnick, great guy. And he said he had the next issue of the magazine. The Rolling Stones were on the cover of the Grooves. He sent it to me.
No kidding.
He didn't tell me who won. He just sent it to me. So I was like, I couldn't wait. I gotta find out. This is 20 years, 30 years later, and I'm like, who won? Aerosmith won.
No shit.
You
know what's funny?
Not by a landslide, though.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, Queen were probably. They weren't quite as big in America as they were in the UK.
And that's what I'm going to say. Grooves was an American magazine.
Yeah.
If it would have gone the other way around, I think Queen would have.
You know what's funny though? I remember reading some reviews about the first Aerosmith album when it came out, and they called them a second-rate Queen.
Really?
Yeah, which is odd. I was just like.
I remember reading one that said they were second-rate Rolling Stones.
I don't know where I read this, but I was like, that's friggin' weird. It's like, why? Because Freddie and Steven both wear those bodysuits with stripes on them? I mean, I didn't see any similarity otherwise.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all watching once again. I know this is a long one, they always are, but everybody seems to like them. These are pretty much uncut, unedited, just us bantering back and forth as friends. And
apparently you guys like that shit, so that's cool. We have fun doing it.
Yeah. we actually, it's always, we schedule a day, because it's going to take all day, and it really does.
Yep.
So anyhow, appreciate y'all watching. Go ahead.
We were gonna do.
Oh, the Kiss one?
Yeah, I'm going off another trail because I don't want to be done. Yeah, we were gonna do a Kiss one based on
makeup albums. All the makeup albums from favorite to least favorite.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll do that someday.
Yeah, maybe next time we'll do that. We still got to do 76,
76, 75, 74, and 73, and 72.
We didn't do 72 yet?
No, we did 70 and 71.
And then...
I actually would like to go back maybe even as far as
69? Oh, wow. I can do 69, 68.
They're going to be sparse. I mean, they're not going to be huge, but I think we could do a lot of cool stuff with a lot of the proto-metal and stuff.
And then the other one, I don't know, 88's going to be... We're getting rough in the 80s now. It's just, we'll see.
I don't see us going past 89, do you? I mean, because 89 would be... I mean, there's some big albums in there. We've got some
big albums all the way through, but I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll do it. I'm not ready to be done, but I know that I don't think we're going into the 90s with it.
Oh heck no, no way.
It's just not gonna happen. Everything's way too splintered at that point.
Way too splintered. Yeah, we'll just. I mean, maybe we should do like a favorite album from the. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's it.
No, never mind. I'm in the wrong decade.
No. That's it, I guess.
Yeah, okay, let's be done, I guess. Let's go get ice cream.
Later. Oh, wait. God bless. Stay strong. I don't think I've ever not said that in a video.
Yeah, I'm strong.
No, I'm not that strong.
Amen.
I showered today.
I did too, thank God.